start the plate on the left. And the silhouette. Take two. Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, commonly referred to as 2.0, even though it's not a number and a letter, I'll still refer to it as 2.0 because that's what people seem to understand. Anyway, executive summary first, and then we'll get into the details. This is part 2, and executive summary is, hey, I am now I'm replacing my LCP Max with the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 or 2.0 as my deep concealment or second or backup type gun. Yeah, I kind of like it. We had some issues, I don't know about issues in the first tabletop. Since then, in shooting it a lot, I had some issues, and we're going to cover the problems, the solutions to the problems, and cover the shooting aspect of it. But this has turned out to be a sweet little 380. Okay, I know 380 is not considered a viable defense caliber. I wouldn't want to be shot by one. It's certainly better than the 45 that you left at home. Stay with me. All right, thanks for dropping in while we take a look. This probably will not be a real quick look, but I'll do my best to try to keep it short. Looking at the Bodyguard 2.0, we already covered why I'm not calling it the 2.0, even though that's the correct one. So, first question that comes up, is this a locked breech or a blowback? And there's some controversy on that. And a couple of different articles that appeared about the same time when this came out. One said it's a blowback, one said it's a locked breech. If you look at how the barrel stays with the slide as the slide starts to move before the barrel starts to dip down, that is all indications of a locked breech. Ruger kind of does the same thing. Barrel stays with the slide as the slide starts to come back, then it dips down. Now this is sort of a scaled down Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, and if you look at this one, as soon as the slide starts to move, the barrel stays just with it for just a hair, then it starts to dip down. This is definitely a locked breech gun. A true blowback would be more like the Walther CCP. Now granted, this is a gas operated delayed blowback, but barrel doesn't move at all. So again, this is a little bit different breed. And then of course there's the bare bones budget Sky, and you see as soon as the slide starts to move, the barrel starts to dip. So that is a blowback. And again, there are other examples in here, but I'm going to call this basically a locked breech type gun rather than a blowback. And the difference on that means theoretically it's a little bit softer recoiling than a straight blowback. All right, got that out of the way. Second thing I want to talk about is holsters. And in the first video we talked about some options for pocket carry, and more than just pocket carry. Here is a pocket carry holster. This comes from Muddy River Tactical. This is my go-to holster company, and this has the hook on it, a little bit of a curve for a right-hand pocket. Fits real nice in the pocket, and as the holster starts to snag on the pocket as the gun comes out, holster stays in, gun comes out. Fits really, really, really nice. Again, Muddy River has been my go-to holster company for quite a while. I will say that I went on their website and I didn't ask for any special favors for this holster. I purchased this like anybody else would, right through their website at whatever the going price was at the time. This has the monoblock clip on it. This is an inside the waistband. Really good for discreet concealed carry with a small light gun. And along with that, I also got an inside the waistband mag pouch. And I find this one interesting. It holds the mag in there nice and securely, but you can just barely see in there. There's a tensioner that actually holds on the front of the magazine. So really, really good options. And again, I can't ever say enough about how quickly I get service from Muddy River. As far as the pocket holster goes, though, I'm not going to demonstrate it here. Kevin, the owner of Muddy River Tactical, did a great video on it. If you haven't followed his videos at all, I recommend that you do so. He did a video on this particular pocket holster with the Bodyguard in it. So check that out as to how it works. Muddy River Tactical, again, that's my go-to. All right, got holsters out of the way. And I'm not going to go over all the specs, but we covered those in the first video. I'll link that up here. 2.75 inch barrel, no big deal. Comes with 10 or 12 round magazines. There's a 10, there's a 12, and by the way, those are dummy rounds in there because I'm going to need those in just a minute when I show you something. It does work in the really nice in the hand. Now this is a slim grip, but I can still, the 10 round mag, I can still get 3 fingers on it thanks to that high undercut. Trigger on this has that tab on it. I said it was kind of reminiscent of the CSX. CSX is a little different profile trigger, but that tab is, I've never felt an issue with it. It's just natural the way it works. Real happy with it. And this trigger press is about 4 pounds. Again, you can see we are empty, and a little bit of take up, not much, and clean brake, no over travel. It does have a built-in over travel stop down here. And people talk about reset. Well, you can barely hear it and feel it, but you know, on a defensive gun, you're not going to shoot to the reset anyway, so I don't worry about reset. All right, some people are concerned you can get this with or without the manual safety. I got it with, obviously, because I'm a 1911 guy. I like manual safeties. I train with a safety, and every time I bring a gun up on target, my thumb naturally sweeps the safety off, even on guns that don't have a safety. This has freed up quite a bit. Just a little bit of lubrication and a lot of working the safety. It's freed that up quite a bit. So you need to work a gun. You need to shoot it, get comfortable with it before you start carrying it. Which does bring me eventually to shooting, which we'll get to. But there are a couple of problems with this. Actually, the first one we'll cover right now, and that it has changed as we shoot it more. I've got more than 350 rounds through this gun right now, and with that number of rounds, that's mixed ammunition, including three different types of carry ammunition, and I am comfortable carrying this gun now. When I first started out, the slide would not stay back on the last round of the magazine. Right around probably 225, close to 230, it started doing it regularly, and now at 250 rounds, even with my slightly downloaded, hand-loaded ammunition, the slide does stay back on the last shot. So break your gun in, get used to the fact that it's going to take a little bit, and you need to work with it anyway. You need to try your gun to make sure it's 100% reliable with at least 200 rounds of range ammunition. You get one single failure, clean your gun, lube it to factory specs, start all over again. If you get another failure with that brand of ammunition, switch brands of ammo. So again, I've run 90, 95, and 100 grain, even some 75 grain interceptor rounds from the Ballistic Machinist. The last 250 plus rounds have been, with the exception of the interceptors, been 100% reliable and trouble-free. Had a comment about the, or actually I made a comment about the recoil assembly. It was sticking out a little bit to start with. It doesn't go any more flush than that, really. And you can see as I bring the slide back, it is starting to, I'd say, fix some of the problems I had before, but not completely. So it's not sticking out as far as it used to. So going by the factory manual, we will field strip this, and I'll show you one of the issues with that, and one of the things I occasionally have to do to fix it. So again, it's like any other Smith & Wesson to take down. Comes apart nice and easy. This is really dirty because I have shot the heck out of it and have not yet cleaned it. All right, comes apart easy, and all right, slide goes there, recoil assembly goes there. I'm not going to take the barrel out because that is not part of what we're talking about. But when you pull back on the spring, you'll notice that the spring is catching right up here. So I'm pulling back, stretching the spring out, but it's still caught. Even trying to grab it up here and pull back, it's not going anywhere. And it's just where the spring is caught just a little bit under that, where you got a two-piece rod here. And the only way that I can get around that is I actually have to push down on the spring to get it uncaptured or uncaught, and it's still captured. And see, it's even with that, it's still hanging up a little bit, which makes it a little difficult occasionally to reassemble. So if I push down on that, you can see that it's now springing down, but you can see if I can get a good camera angle while I'm doing this. There, you can see where that rod is sticking out just a little bit at the end, and it's like you can see three pieces, the flange on the end, the shaft in the middle, and the part that moves, and that's where the spring is getting hung up a little bit, which makes this reassembly a little bit challenging. But we'll go ahead and do it here, get my fingers nice and greasy, and there, it finally slid over that, and I did manage to seat, but it took a little bit of effort to do it. So springs are getting caught up a little bit at the end. It's getting better as I shoot it. All right, so you can see that there's just a little bit of a gap out there at the end where the spring catches, right there. All right, one other problem has been with the magazines. Trying to load the mag with a loader, this one being the Uplula Maglula. When you try to get down to 12 rounds, in fact, I have a lot of difficulty getting 12 rounds in here. I'll roll a couple of stills in here of a round that actually I was really pushing down on this, trying to get the last round in, and this actually dented the round. I couldn't get it down quite far enough. The way the spring stacks in here, sometimes it seems to work, sometimes it doesn't. I've occasionally been able to get 12 rounds, and most of the time I'm only able to get 11. Again, I don't want to be denting up my ammunition, which can happen. But beyond that, another problem that I found with the magazine, and I'll demonstrate it on this one that has some dummy rounds in it. I've got two dummy rounds in it, and if I try to put a third dummy round in here, if I do it by hand, no big deal, it goes right in. If I try to do it with the Uplula loader, which pushes down on the back of the rounds, it starts to hang up right there, and I cannot push this down beyond the two rounds. I'll show you why. Because when I load by hand, I'm pushing down in the front. So it's pushing the follower one way. If I load with the Maglula loader, it's actually putting pressure down on the back of the round. So I'll simulate that without the loader on it, and you'll see what happens right here in the mag cutout for the mag catch. You'll see the follower come down as I'm pushing down on the back of the round. That follower is starting to hang up, and it wants to protrude through that. So I can't, as I'm pushing down the back of the round, I can't get that follower to beyond that point. So if I push down in the front or in the middle, it slips right past that. So that's a design flaw from Smith, because a lot of loaders are going to push on the back of the round. So you fix that by shaving the follower just a little bit, and this one, oops, this one I've already shaved, and let's put a couple of rounds in here and we'll see how that works. This is the one that came with it. This mag and this mag are both ones I picked up in the Smith & Wesson blister pack afterwards. All right, so we got the two rounds in here, and I shaved this follower just a little bit with a knife, and now you can see even pushing on the back of the round where that tab on the follower doesn't stick out to the hole. But on the ones that I haven't shaved, hangs up right there. So that's a problem, easily fixed. You could take the magazine apart, shave that a little bit, not a big deal. But come on, Smith & Wesson, you shouldn't have to mess with the gun like that. And one other problem I did run into, it's a little bit on the rare side. In fact, I've only had a problem with it once. SAMI specs, the Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturing Industry, whatever SAMI stands for, says that a .380 round should be .984 maximum overall length. I've been loading to .975, so we're a few thousandths less than that, almost 1/100 of an inch less than that, and should be okay. I did find an occasion where I had several rounds stuck in there, and again, it's possible that a couple of them were loaded a little longer than SAMI spec, but I doubt it since I'm loading on a good progressive press. But once I got a few rounds in, they stuck in the magazine and had to shake it loose. So I shouldn't have an issue with it, particularly with factory magazine or factory ammunition, but it's one other problem. But now we'll get to the other real problem. And again, these guns are designed for people who are going to want to buy a gun and shoot it. Most people don't even shoot it a lot. Smith & Wesson, come on, any manufacturer, when you build a gun, test it, make sure it's right, and even if it costs you a couple of dollars more per gun, make sure it's right, so that when it goes to out of the field and people who are not gun people just want a protection piece, that they don't have to mess with it, because most people aren't going to want to take their magazines apart and shave the followers. Most people probably aren't going to run 250 rounds of ammunition to break it into where it'll stay open on the last round. But the biggest problem has been, well, I'll show you the footage in here. When I first sighted this thing in, I took it to an indoor range, tried it at 15 yards. It was way off. And I know people are going to say, well, if you're shooting left, it's the way I grip the gun up. Come on. I shoot 15,000 rounds a year. I was a competitive shooter for a long time. If the gun is shooting to the left, it's the gun. It's not me. Trust me, I've tried that every which way but loose. It's the gun. And I'll show you why. If you look at the pictures here, you'll see that the front sight was actually off in the dovetail a little bit to the right, which means it's moving the barrel to the left. It's going to shoot to the left. The rear sight was off in the dovetail to the left. It wasn't centered, which again is going to make the gun shoot to the left. So I had to drift the front sight to the left, drift the rear sight to the right, except I couldn't drift the rear sight. Let me show you what happened to the one punch. So I started using Dawson Precision aluminum sight punches, and it did not work. I mean, I have kind of beat that one up. I finally went to a brass punch, and you can see what happened to my brass punch. That was straight and pristine when I first started using it. I ended up having to use my AccuCraft sight adjustment tool. I did a review on that a while back too. It has come in really handy, and I put a lot of pressure on that to get that rear sight to move. Finally got it to move where it's supposed to be. And if you look at it now, I got the front sight centered, and the rear sight is no longer to the left. It's not even centered. It's way off to the right in order to finally get point of aim, point of impact. And again, how many people are going to do that? Smith, I've heard a lot of complaints about this gun shooting to the left. You shouldn't have to mess with it. Smith, come on, how hard is it to make this right for people out of the box? All right, got that resolved, and it shoots nice, and I'm happy with it finally. So, several trips to the range, several different types of ammunition, including Spear Gold Dot and Hornady Critical Defense, plus a lot of target type ammunition, and it does shoot well. 12 yards, okay, I struggled a little bit with, I think it was the Hornady Critical Defense. I had some hard time making the plates work, and that was me. That's strictly on me, not the gun. First time I took it to 25 yards, I was struggling, and of course I took it out to 50. I know I'm going to get complaints about shooting at 50 yards with a get-off-me gun, but you know I got to try it. All right, this would not work well for Elijah Dicken taking out the, stopping the, there in the Greenwood Mall a couple of years ago, 41 yards or something with a handgun. Yeah, this is not going to be that kind of tool. But again, you should be able to shoot accurately and well beyond the statistical average distances. So if you only train, and I've been through this over and over again, if you only train to the statistical average distances, you're way behind the curve when something comes out outside of that. So I shot at 25, struggled a little, shot it at 50, and I was having a lot of trouble at 50. When I went back to review the video, I saw that I was shooting low. The gun was shooting a lot lower than I expected at 50 yards. Took it out again, corrected that, and lo and behold, I got the gong and the 16-inch. Took a couple of shots to get the 12-inch, then I got the 10, a couple of shots to take the 8, and a few shots to take the 6, but by gosh, on one magazine, I got all of those and ended up with a 6-inch at 50 yards. Okay, even a blind squirrel can find a nut occasionally, so that was kind of fluke, but the gun will do it if you do your part, once you get the sights where they belong. So, all in all, I am happy with the Bodyguard 2.0, 2.0, whatever you want to call it. I will be carrying it in the Muddy River pocket holster or the Muddy River inside the waistband holster, and even with the magazine catch to go, or magazine pouch to go along with it. Really, really happy with Muddy River, really happy with the gun itself. So, sorry, LCP Max, you're going back in the safe. Bodyguard 2.0 is going to be my new companion for the hideout gun or the second gun. Kind of a long video, I told you that going into it, but I am now happy with the Bodyguard. Reluctant at first, but as I said in the executive summary, it's now my go-to. Not my primary. My primary is still either going to be my Staccato C or my M&P 2.0 Compact 2.0, not 2.0. But good companion between the two guns. Love them. All right, thanks for staying with me this long. I really do appreciate it.